Here we go.
G'day fans, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Repeat Off the Card. It's a Wednesday night. The sun is shining outside, even though the sun's going down right about now. Beautiful sunny days. Summer is coming, even though up north and all around the place, rivers have bursted their banks everywhere, and there's people getting flooded out and whatever else. But for us nerds here, Aaron and myself, the world is going really, really well, Mr. Aaron. How you going, old son?
I am going very well. Fantastic. Still doing 20-hour days. Still working my way through this deceased estate, trying to find room for it in the shop. I noticed you've managed to dodge most of it, though, haven't you?
Not most of it. I've dodged all of it, actually. So there you go. So, no, I've kept myself well and truly out of the way because I know you're a busy lad when it comes to organising all this stuff, which is really, really good to see. But for myself personally, maybe I'll see the fruits of the labour on Saturday when I'm in the store and I get to see whether you've moved out all those plastic containers from all the aisleways. Shaking your head after 2 weeks.
Well, there's a lot of them at Dicko's place, and he's been sorting them at his house. But we have this thing, a motto in the shop, buying, selling, chatting, because we like to chat. But if you come in to chat with me, most of the time I'm not around at the moment. So you get like 2 hours of anime download chat from Chad.
Very good. Mr. Dicko's actually watching tonight too, which is particularly cool. There's a good shot of his head and his car, and behind that is a whole lot of boxes in a garage.
Pretty much, yeah.
Very good. All right, so we've got a very, very exciting, as always, episode for you this evening, and there's a lot to cover off as per the usual. This is kind of a bit of a part two from last week regarding your deceased estate and go through all this hoarding stuff. Is that right, Mr. Aaron?
It is. So it's going to be an interesting second half of the show, but stick around for the first half because we've got all our regular amazing segments, and it's a pretty packed show tonight, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you're not watching us, go watch Andor episode 7, which is on at the moment. Oh my God, it is the greatest thing ever. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm just assuming it is. So yes, it's very good stuff. All right, well, we're going to kick things off because you know what we're like. We've got to get stuff done in this particular job. So let us get started. All right, Mr. Aaron, so what are we talking about on this evening regarding some hot news?
Well, I think because it's getting to that time of the year, a lot of the toy companies are sort of pushing their horror toys, new and classic. So I didn't choose to do this, but it looks like a lot of the news this week is just on the horror franchises and new toys and figures that are coming out to do with them.
Just hold on for a sec. Ange just said, why aren't we on Facebook? We are not up there. Most people are already on Facebook, Ange. So it must be a connection with yourself because there are people speaking to us already from Facebook. And I can confirm that we are actually active on there at the moment. So not entirely sure what's happened, but maybe technology has decided to sort of play up at the moment. But other people are connected. So yes, maybe keep trying, old son. That's all we can say. We are worth the effort. That's the most important thing. Struggle as one might. It could be worth it in the end. Anyway, but as you were saying, dude, you're talking about a whole lot of horror stuff going on at the moment. And we've kicked it off with a bit of the old school.
Now, this is an unusual one. I mean, it is one of those classic horror characters, but it isn't exactly one that fans have been busting down the door to get an action figure of. And it does probably mean it has come out before, but probably not regularly. This is probably the first Invisible Man I've seen come out for quite a few years. Does mean there will be a demand, they will disappear. Invisible Man disappear. That's one of your jokes there, Dags. But it does mean when they disappear, you won't see it again for a while. It is one of those sort of classic figures that doesn't really get that many releases. And I guess because he is invisible. So what you do is get the figure that's wrapped in bandages or just no head and no hands kind of thing. Sometimes when they've done it, they've done sort of made out of clear plastic, and sometimes they've just done no plastic at all. This one takes sort of the route where it does different versions of the heads and hands that you can pop on and off. So you can have the Visible Man, the Semi-Visible Man, and the Invisible Man. If it was done by Funko, though, it'd just be an empty box.
And you know what? You could still sell it that way too, and just say it's still the Invisible Man because he's not there, you can't do anything about it. And because of the latest version of the Invisible Man, the film that was made only about 5 or 6 years ago, the dude really is invisible. You don't see him at all, right?
Yeah.
And which is, I know it's kind of stupid when you say that, but that was particularly cool. It's just, your brain suggested that he was standing there even when he wasn't. So, but yes, that is particularly groovy, actually. A bit of old school, which is the way to go. And of course, if you're going to go old school, now Rusky Babes are watching this, probably go off his load on this one. It's a bit of the old Vinnie Price, mate. What's the deal with that?
Now, this is a really unusual one because usually you get characters that actors have played, but I guess Vincent Price is such an iconic character. They've decided just to go with one of him, and it's obviously they've done him from the Raven because it comes with a Raven as an accessory. They haven't really captured the Vincent Price look. I've got to say, when you look at the figure, I was not saying that looks like Vincent Price to me. So with a little bit of imagination, you can say it's Vincent Price. Yeah, when you have the nice artwork on the cover like we see there, fair enough. But when you see the actual figure, it is one of the sort of reaction, not a super duper detailed thing. It is nice if you're adding it to a horror collection. And if you were treat yourself at Halloween to get a couple of horror figures, having the Invisible Man and the Vincent Price, even though they're from two different companies, it's a nice theme of retro horror. What did you think of this one, mate?
I like the idea that they've done it, and the reason why they've picked the Raven is because everybody's just raving about this particular figure. Boom tish. I've got to admit, it's almost like worth it for the cover artwork. The cover artwork alone is really, really cool. When you look at the picture there, if you look at the one on the left, if you just took the picture of the head and you didn't really know what it was, yeah, you wouldn't pick Vincent Price in a million years. It looks like some kind of Errol Flynn kind of sort of characterization more than anything else. So you are right; they haven't exactly done good old Vinnie Price justice. But anyway, good on them for doing it. So yeah, there you go.
And
what do you reckon?
you're absolutely right. I like the art on the cover. It reminds me very much of the famous Monsters in Filmland magazine covers, that sort of artwork. So really nice nostalgia hit for anyone that likes that kind of thing.
Christy said, yeah, wouldn't pick it as Vincent either. Yeah, you're right. It's a bit off target on that one. So yes, I like that. Yes, from Wolf, yeah, Vincent Price is everything nice. Can't argue with that whatsoever. So good stuff. Oh, here we go from Colin. Yes, he purchased a Funko box of the Invisible Man now and he can't find it. Very good. Oh, those jokes just never get old, do they? So very good. Oh, here we go. The fun factoids have finally made a reappearance for the first time in ages. Vincent Price was the Invisible Man a few times. I obviously didn't get to see that one.
What I like about when you sell the Invisible Man, you see visible profits.
Yes, exactly. Exactly right. There's a whole lot of jokes to be made out of that. Now, there's only one picture of this one. Good old Frankenstein. What was this for, dude?
Yeah, so this is another one that's just been announced. I think it's called the 31 Days of Halloween that NECA is sort of announcing, and they've just been sort of scattershot of dropping different horror ones. Yes.
No, it's 31 Nights of Fright.
There you go. That's what I was trying to think of. I knew it was 31 Days of something or Nights of Fright. So every day this month they will be dropping images of new horror-based toys and figures. And I thought, as we were having a bit of a retro show, I'd go with the Frankenstein because it's the original green-headed bolts through his neck Frankenstein that everyone thinks is probably the most iconic. Now getting over 100 years old.
Yeah, it's very funny. There used to be a joke we used to make on the previous show that I used to make that produced that yeah, if you got the old neck bolts and stuff, you clearly come from Frankston. So that's very, very good. Regarding our old jokes, Christy said, yes, they do get old. That's we are old. We're allowed to crack old jokes is what we do in the show. So
yeah,
forget the new, leave the new outside, mate. We want the old stuff. That's the way to go.
So we're moving on from Halloween to Valentine's Day with this next one, aren't we?
Yeah, so I didn't get the guess to this, but Chucky and the Bride, but yeah, whatever.
So yeah, they are releasing a new version of Chucky and his Bride, and this was the picture they put out, a blood-splattered heart, which is, I think, very appropriate for Chucky and Bride of Chucky. It always amazes me when we get these figures in the shop, and you would have seen this, Dags, where you get 10 and 12-year-old kids come and go, oh, Chucky, I love Chucky, that's my favourite movie, and you look at the parents and go, your kids have seen Chucky, and they sort of shift awkwardly and go, oh, maybe at a friend's house or something.
So what you do is you look at the parents and you go, have you been showing Chucky and Bride of Chucky to your kids? And they just look up at the corner and go, must be time for KFC.
Aron Collectibles, where it's always time for KFC.
Even when it's not time, it is time.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. All right, so we go from all the horror stuff to something that you've already got one of these big ass ones of these in your store already. So I don't know why they've produced another one. It's a bit of the old Hulk Buster action. Dude, tell us about this.
One of the new Lego
sets. Lego. I just realized it's a Lego set. Sorry, dude.
No problem. This is one of the new Lego sets that's just turning up, and it came out of the blue where no one really knew it was due, and it's just turned up in shops. But it is a massive, massive Hulk Buster. So if you want like a big Lego set to take a couple of weeks of your time while you watch TV or watch all the MCU movies, the Hulkbuster one is huge. You can see from the size of the figure in that picture, the scale of it. You know, it will stomp on your Lego figures. That's probably the only way to defeat the Hulkbuster, to get it step on Lego.
Yeah, it's pretty big, isn't it?
Yeah.
I don't know, big, bulky. I don't know if it's necessarily appealing. So
I find with the big Lego sets like this, if you're a Lego collector, it's too hard to build them and display. If you just want one nice piece, it's a good central piece or a talking point, but it's really hard to build a lot of pieces like this and display all of them, isn't it?
yeah, I agree. And it's not, all things being equal, not the most prettiest looking image or character either to be put together as a Lego set. Here we go. Fun factoid: the Trials of the Crypt Keeper was actually a recycled Chucky prop. Oh, did you know that, dude?
I didn't. I actually thought Tales from the Crypt came out before Chucky was a thing, but there you go.
Yeah, I thought so too. Unless they redid it in the 80s or the 90s.
Yeah,
I'm not sure. Either that or Rusky Babes' fun factoids have got some iffy bits about them. You go, oh yeah, that doesn't work, does it?
Maybe Russell's been eating the fun fungoids, and that's why his factoids are coming out like a bit wacky today.
Yeah, I love it. Absolutely fantastic. Anyway, that's the news. So you can see there's all this horror stuff coming out. 31 Nights of Fright is in the go. So hopefully they'll do a few more classic characters rather than your Chuckies and Brides of Chuckies. But yeah, the whole Vincent Price thing, even if it didn't really look like him, good on them for doing it. The worst part is you'll have some kids looking at that and going, who the hell's Vincent Price? Oh, mate, sorry, dude, need to take you outside and put you down.
I have got one more piece of news before we move on. You're going to love this one. This is the last week with Jodie Whittaker as the current Doctor. She regenerates on Sunday.
And there was much rejoicing. Is that what they're just trying to say?
I'm just pointing it out to people. We'll see it here. It'll drop on iView on the ABC at about 4:35 Monday morning. So anyone who wants to get up and watch it at the same time as I do, that's when I'll be watching it. I'm sure you'll get up and watch it too, right, Dags?
No, I'm doing my hair that day. But everybody will be sort of like, everybody will be on sort of online chatting amongst themselves, and it's like, yeah, I can just imagine the madness of it. It's like one eye on the computer screen and one eye on the TV screen. So now this is a comment. Chrissy said, I had to turn off the Hulkbuster to watch you tonight. That is a very bad choice, Chrissy. You should have stuck with Hulkbuster. No way are we going to be as entertaining as that. So,
well, we're going to do something later tonight that we've never actually done in the show before. And before Dags can say anything, it's not like actually be entertaining. It's the way we're broadcasting tonight. It's a bit different.
All right. And it's been Rusky Babes that said first Chucky movie was 88, Tales of the Crypt TV show 89. So cop that. There you go, mate. A bit of the old Wikipedia does wonders trying to find out the facts of these things. So there you go. Very, very cool. And Greg is indeed true. Docky, who is the go? Don't forget tomorrow night. The Who report is on. I don't know if you guys will even be talking about that, but if you're not this week, then definitely next week.
I think we probably will. If Phil's watching, if you can put it up on the Club of Victoria page and help support us, that'd be fantastic, mate.
Oh, cheap plug. Absolutely love it. Speaking of cheap stuff, right, here we go. Now it's time to move on to something very, very exciting. Now, normally we show you the item and you've got to guess what it is, but in this case, we've only got one box of the picture, right? One picture of the box. So, yes, very, very cool. All right,
Useless Pop of the Week!
So here we go. This one sort of came out today, and I think even the Funko guys are starting to get a little bit desperate with their pops because it's a helicopter from G.I. Joe. It's like, where's the pop in this, dude?
Well, look, the thing to me is that doesn't look like a Funko Pop. That looks like when you go to the Vic Market and you find the dodgiest Asian, bring them in from Ronnie, cheap toy helicopters that are probably making woof woof sounds like a dog and like going around in circles on the floor. That's what that looks like to me. It looks like a cheap knockoff toy. It does not look like a nice G.I. Joe piece. Funko have this thing where they'll do anything, but that's a particularly bad one. That one looks cheap, doesn't it, Dags?
Hang on, did you say it makes a woof woof noise? It's a bit like the capitalist dog that we know you happen to be, like this.
I tell you what, I think Spankin gets jealous that the capitalist dog gets more airplay than he does.
Well, that's exactly right, because after all, I mean, it is named after you.
That's fantastic, Dags. I'd just like everyone to know Dags came up with that all by himself, and he finds it very amusing.
I'm highly amused, I've got to say. Anyway, so the Cobra Fang thing, yeah, there's no pop in this at all. I mean, if they could have at least put eyes on this dude, have the visor up and put the eyes in like they normally do. But that's just complete shit. So,
It
but
is
if
one
you
of
like
those.
G.I. Joe, maybe it'll float your boat. But as a pop, I think it kind of sucks.
It is one of those things where the blue plastic with the sheen on just looks super cheap too, doesn't it? It doesn't look even like something you'd want to pay full price for.
This is a comment not everybody's going to get. This is the reason why I can put this up from Michael. I like this one. If the rotor's a bit close to his helmet, could be for Vic Morrow job here. So, and for people that don't know what the reference is, just look it up. So,
Google Twilight Zone the movie safety.
Yes, exactly right. Anyway, so yes, I tend to agree. The G.I. Joe thing, yeah, it's not exactly cutting the mustard. What can I say? But there was one apparently you did find that kind of floated your boat. It's the old penguin from Batman Returns.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, for the sake of fairness, I didn't know if Dags had put this up. I shot this through and go, I don't actually mind this one. It's a pop that I don't mind. The penguin rubber duck vehicle kind of looks pretty good, and the penguin doesn't look too offensive as a pop there either. You probably still hated it, but what did you think of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't like pops at the best of times, but if you didn't know it was a pop, you wouldn't have guessed that. It just doesn't look pop-like. So, yeah, good on for doing it, even though the penguin at the back there looks a bit dodgy, but the actual character looks good, and the duck itself looks really good, actually. So,
and the thing, I'll bring this up to our fans. When I was looking for pops to choose for useless pops today, I was on Pop Culture, and that is $69, $30 off at the moment. So $39. That's actually quite good for a vehicle.
Indeedy, doody, dotty. I'm sorry, I was just distracted by a comment from Christy. Hey, don't keep putting yourselves down about being entertaining. That's our job.
From the viewer that didn't turn up to put in her crimson yawns this Monday. Thanks,
yeah,
Christy.
well, we needed you on Monday night, Christy, for your crimson yawns. I know you put them in afterwards, but if you're not there at the time, then it's kind of a little bit late. But yes, we were missing you, but it's good to see you've joined us tonight, which is the most important thing. Very, very cool, good stuff. All right, and even Michael saying, $69, absolutely fantastic, but it's been reduced. What did you say it was now? 39, yeah?
39. Mate,
they're chucking them away. What can I say? It's cheaper than buying a real penguin from Phillip Island. What can I say? All right.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Now it's time. This is a bit of a long one this time around, but we've got a little bit of this we've got to show you, and it's all very, very exciting. So wait till you see what's been going on recently. All right, so first things first. Chrissy said she was in the hospital. Yeah, any excuse to get out of us talking about Endor. Regarding Greg King's Cheaper Things, not everybody watches this segment. I'm aware of that. So there's a long story going on about how Asian sort of sellers sell pop culture merchandise, and they either sell dodgy merchandise or they don't actually deliver the products at all. And Aaron's been waiting for all these deliveries for the past year, right? And there's a bit of a story going on, and there's been a lot of correspondence between Aron here and a guy called Ronnie over in Asia regarding the products that he's been sort of selling and or not selling. But as it turned out, the cool thing is some stuff turned up. So I know viewers who've been watching this show are really, really keen to see what turns up. And of course, we do comparisons between what was ordered, what was pictured, and what we actually got. Right. And there's some interesting stuff coming up. And of course, when they send the wrong product or no products at all, Aron obviously contacts this person called Ronnie, and Ronnie tries to justify his entire existence as to why he's doing this particular scam. So, very, very good. I like to see. I can't talk Android. If it was up to me, I'd be watching it on a laptop right there, but I've got to talk to you instead. So, let's have a look at what turned up, what was ordered, and what turned up, and we'll go from there. So, go for it, dude.
No problem. So these turned up relatively quick. This was only a couple of weeks ago I ordered them. Now, Dags, I don't know if you remember when I ordered them what I said, but there was one I ordered for someone in particular. Do you remember what that was?
No.
I said, usually I wouldn't order the Alice in Wonderland one, but Chad at work is a big Alice in Wonderland fan, so I'll get that one for him. So we ordered the Doctor Strange Eye, the Doctor Who fob watch, and the Alice in Wonderland, and all of them are nice watches. So when you push the little thing on the top, like the fob watches do, they flip up and there's a watch inside. So these are the three that we ordered. They were particularly cheap. I thought they were quite good value if they turned up and they were in the condition and they were actually what they said they were going to be. So they turned up quick, and I was happy to open them and check them out. I mean, $7 Australian, $6 Australian, $5 Australian seems like a pretty good deal, doesn't it?
It does. So fans, What do you think turned up? And no, it was not the Hobbit house. So he didn't get a house. He did get his watches. So let's have a look and see what happened.
So there we've got, again, what we actually ordered. So that's the picture, just another picture of what we actually ordered. I think the next one shows what we actually got. So that's the Doctor Strange one. It's very, very close to what I ordered. In fact, they advertised a bronze one, a gold one, and a silver one, and I ordered the bronze one, and the gold one turned up. But I don't really mind. It's pretty good. I think the lighting on the pictures they use makes their one look a bit better. If we go to that's what we got. There's a side-by-side comparison. So it's sort of a burnished silver compared to a bronze one. I think the watch is different. Obviously, the one there has the metal, gold metal hands, and the one that we got is just black. It is interesting because the green center in the middle of that is more accurate to the movie prop than the one they're showing there. But I do think, particularly in the bottom picture, you can see it is basically the same cast mold that they've used for the watches. So to get it for $6 is pretty good. And I have to say, I set the time and it's kept time fine.
Is it metal?
It is metal.
Very, very cool. All right, so that's the first watch.
This is the second one. This is what we actually got. This is the Doctor Who one. Again, it's a bit strange because the front has Time Lord writing on, which is accurate for Doctor Who. It looks like the back they've just used any mold that they could. It isn't the Time Lord one that's on the official one. It looks more a gothic, something like a vampire or something Edwardian or Victorian gentleman might have. So this one, again, turned up $5 or what it is. Keeps time fine so far. I don't know how long it will. And it's got that other little brooch or necklace with it too.
All right, so things are going quite well at the moment.
Side-by-side comparison. The one that they pictured is more goldy and I got a more bronzy one. You can see the front is exactly the same design. It's just a different metal. I ordered a blue, I guess, I'm not sure what that is meant to be. It's just a little medallion and they sent me the red one. The red one was advertised, but in the checkout, I did order the blue. So I think it is just a case of they just pull whatever. You can see the two boxes. The one on the top is the one that I ordered. The one on the bottom is what I got. It's almost identical. So for the price, I can't really complain.
So things are going very, very well. And the last one.
So this was the special gift for Chad that I ordered Alice in Wonderland because he's been working so hard at the moment, putting in extra hours and busting his back moving stuff around. So this was the one I particularly wanted to be good and come and be nice. So I was hoping this would be pretty close to this. Do you think it was close, Dags?
Oh, mate, what can I say? We're batting 2 for 2 here at the moment. What could possibly go wrong? Well,
it's one of those things where you can't ever get 3 good items in the one order. I was surprised how fast it turned up and how good they actually were, but they picked the wrong franchise. So the one that I got for Chad turned out to be the Jurassic World. And when I showed it to him, he just sort of looked dejected and he just said, couldn't even be Jurassic Park, could it? He would have been even happier if it was Jurassic Park, but to add insult to injury, it wasn't even one of the good Jurassic movies. It was Jurassic World. And the only thing that it's got in common is it's a black watch. So I don't know what the deal is in the warehouse with these things. I was quite disappointed for Chad. So there's the side-by-side comparison. What makes me laugh is the all the top parts where you push the opener and the winder are different, but the Jurassic Park one and the Alice in Wonderland one are the same. So I don't know if they've just put the wrong decal or whatever in the watch and they've just got the wrong thing. But it is something I needed to have a word with Ronnie about, wasn't it, Dags?
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Ronnie at the moment is having dinner, and what he's eating is meatloaf because, as you can say, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Chrissy's actually quite excited about it. She wants the Jurassic World one. So there you go, which means, now, Chrissy, if this helps at all, go into the Aron's Collectibles, right? The Jurassic World one will be in Greg King's Cheaper Things glass cabinet. There will be a price tag on it, but be wary of this.
Well, I was just going to say, against stereotype that Dag seems to be pushing, if you come in and ask for it, Christy, you can have that for free. That's no.
Providing you spend another $80 somewhere else, is that right? How good is that? So yes, Alice in Wonderland, Jurassic World. I can kind of see the connection there. So I don't know what he's complaining about, but there you go.
They were both movies, weren't they? So fair enough.
Very, very good. All right, so that's what happened. So yeah, that's kind of ridiculous, isn't it? How can you get them? They're not even remotely close to each other, so it's kind of amusing. All right, so we've got a bit of email correspondence going on here. It's been going on for months now, and of course, as was mentioned earlier, Paul Aron, small home for hobbits, something he's paid multiple times for shipping, is still not arrived, right? So time has come to get Ronnie to sort of work out what is the deal at his end, okay, and see what the deal is. So we've got some correspondence here. This is what Aron sent to Ronnie, and you'll get a good indication as to what's going on the other side of the world. Okay, here we go.
Dear Ronnie, I have to say that you have failed me. No home for hobbits, and now Jurassic Park watch instead of Alice in Wonderland. I want my money back. How do I go about getting a refund? Your friend Aron.
So one of two things going to happen here. Either Ronnie can say, yep, we've screwed the pooch and send it back and we'll send you your money back straight away. Or he could say this.
Hey there, Aron. The watch is a great item and you have it. Why ask for a refund on such a great item? I don't understand why you want money back. This is not good business for me. I look into, and I've cut and pasted it, so that's how it was spelled. I look into your order, Ronnie.
I want everybody else to be the judge of what's going on here. So he sent the wrong item and he doesn't even want it back. He said, mate, what are you complaining about? You got the damn thing. So I like this one. Yes, Gavin, Alice in Blunderland. I really like the sound of that. So yes, very, very cool. All right. So Aron, obviously you had to write back to Mr. Ronnie about this. Let's see what you had to say.
Dear Ronnie, I have gone back through this year's purchases and I have found many other items that did not arrive. I think I'm going to have to consult with Greg King and make Greg King's timeline of shame and detail all the times I have paid and received nothing. Your friend Aron. Now, I went back and there are actually items I ordered that I had forgotten about because we're so worried about the small home for hobbits. I didn't remember all these other things that we haven't got.
All right. So what do you reckon Ronnie had to say about that particular threat? Was he concerned or did he just say, go for broke, son?
Do not keep looking back at the things you paid for. What good will that do? We do not do refunds. Number one rule, refunds never going to help solve problem. Do not make timeline of shame. The soul Greg King is a better man than to do this, Ronnie.
I like that. Don't do refunds. Number one, that really is the Frankie thing, isn't it? The number one rule: refunds are never going to help solve the problem, but they're going to make you feel a little bit better. And for that reason alone, we have to do this. So what you have, is that right, Mr. The Soul Greg King's timeline of shame? Is that right there, Mr. Aron?
Yes, because after Ronnie said to me, do not make it, the Soul Greg King is a better man, we had to go ahead and make it. So we've got the timeline of shame, and it shows some of the things I forgot we ordered that haven't actually turned up. Did you remember all these things?
No, there's a few things that I've forgotten. So for those we're about to show you what Aron has ordered from overseas in the past 12 months or whatever this year. And for those who've been watching on a regular basis, there's been ongoing jokes for ages about products. This is actual money that's been spent, even though it might not be a lot, but it all adds up over a period of time. And items that have not been received, okay? Not items that have been sent incorrectly. They just have not turned up, right? So that is automatically, like, imagine buying stuff off by Amazon or Myer or anything like that online. If the product doesn't turn up, you crack the shits big time and go, hey, I've copped up dollars of this. I want it all. And, of course, as we've seen from Ronnie, he's just said, if it doesn't turn up, too bad, so sad. Stop grizzling. And if the wrong item turns up, just accept it and enjoy it. So for those who have forgotten all the stuff that Aron's bought over the past 12 months of things that have not arrived, have a look at this.
So money, Ronnie has my money for Small Hobbit House, which was $40. The Holy Grail from Raiders of the Lost Last Crusade, and the Grail Diary, and the Shakara stones. I always get them wrong. They added up to $76. We haven't seen any of that. And then in June we ordered an Infinity Gauntlet. That was only $13. In August we ordered the massive Pokemon statue for $75, reduced from like $300, and that hasn't turned up. And now we've got the watch, which is $6, and they've sent the wrong thing.
And I actually realised from last year you ordered the Catwoman on the cycle from Batman something or other. Dark Knight, no, not the one that came after the Dark Knight.
That's
the
true. That was
version.
The Annie locomotive Catwoman, but that wasn't through AliExpress. This is just all the stuff.
All right.
This is just all the stuff from Ronnie. And then when I went back through and looked, we have paid 5 lots of 10 postage for the first item, which hasn't turned up. We actually paid 6 lots, but I've let him off on 1 because they did send the Audrey Little Shop of Horror plant after, saying they were going to send it for ages. So I got 1, but there's been 5 lots of postage, $50. The item only cost me $40, and the postage has cost me $50, and I haven't seen it yet. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm going to go with what Michael has said here, and this is one of the great comments. Ronnie has a YouTube channel about his weird friend Aron, who pays for things he'll never get.
Yes, I did say his show is called Ship It Out the Factory.
It's called Blame It on the Lackey. That's his show. Isn't that unbelievable? And it's just like, and of course, what we've been saying throughout this entire time, we're having a bit of a laugh at this scenario, and it's a bit of a giggle and a bit of a gag. And of course, we have a show, and when items don't turn up, we talk about them here. But as we've pointed out, if you can imagine people all around the world doing this, $5 here, $10 there, $20 there, $30 there, multiply that thousands upon thousands of times of items that never turn up. Someone somewhere, i.e. in the Ronnie camp, is making $1 squillion for nothing, right? And all they're doing is sending emails back. Now, he has mentioned that he does get messages with caps lock and all that, with people screaming and yelling and carrying on. And of course, from his perspective, is like, what he complained about? It's on the way. Shut up, effectively. Don't worry about putting refunds through. And obviously, because the items are so cheap, a lot of people wouldn't. So if you bought a $5 Alice in Wonderland watch with $3 worth of shipping, and you go, it's only $8, who cares? Didn't turn up, it's the wrong item. But as I said, multiply that thousands of times. That's where the money's made. That's where the scam is. So, sorry, dude, you going to say something?
Just before you think Ronnie's making $1 million, he isn't. I think he's sort of the middleman, because what happens on AliExpress, it isn't all the one company. It's a whole lot of different sellers are selling stuff. And obviously some of them send stuff and it's good, and some of them rip you off. He's the person who doesn't work for any of those companies. He works for AliExpress, and he's the customer service there. And I think he just tries to prolong and not get people to get a refund.
Yeah, no, it's right. It wasn't necessarily referring to him specifically. It's whoever's behind the scenes in this, clear, because it's a scam. I mean, it is a scam, right? And it's a very clever scam when you sit and think about it. Everybody just goes, "Oh my god, I'm going to buy those items. They're awesome. They look fantastic in the pictures." And of course, when they don't turn up, people just move on. So there's a whole back end that's reaping a lot of money out of this, and that's the thing. And now we've exposed that. We're showing it right here, right now, especially based on what you said. You've spent $260 for items you haven't received, right? Yeah. Most people will completely lose their load over that, because it's been spread over all these items. It just gets buried amongst the products. And even as you said, you'd forgotten about certain things. That's part of the deal. You've sent the money, you forget about it. Done. Move on. So clearly someone's got money that you've sent, and that's just been banked away, and that's the end of that. So, and I agree with with Greg on this one, it's rip it off the customer, absolutely. Sorry, you're going to say something?
I think the thing is, if you buy the real deal and you pay $600 for a Pokemon statue and it doesn't turn up, you're on the phone straight away. But if you pay $75 and you're like, I don't know if it's going to turn up or not, you're less likely to follow it up. I mean, $75 is still a lot. It's more the $5 or $10 ones that people just probably don't care about. And I have to say, we keep doing it for the show. I hope everyone enjoys it, and it's kind of the budget that I put into the show, and I don't mind. And I do get PayPal refunds on a lot of the stuff. Ronnie is actually doing a good job because he's talking to us. I haven't PayPal'd all and got it all back, and he would just stop and disappear. I think he's actually good to join us on the show, but it is that thing where still, because of that, they're getting this money and it's never going to come back.
Yeah, and you are right. You wouldn't do it with expensive items. You do it deliberately with cheap items. Yeah. And they're cheap for a reason, because they're not cheap because the product is cheap to produce. They're cheap because when people pay for them and don't get them, they just ignore it. And it's like, well, it's only $5. Who cares? But as I said, you multiply it thousands of times, tens of thousands of times, all these different items. It's just an absolutely fantastic scam, and it's all completely legal from our perspective anyway. So, yeah.
The other scam they do, which works as well and gets more money, is where you order the Maltese Falcon and you get this dragon, and they go, oh, look, we're really sorry, just send postage and we'll send the real item. And they're probably knocking those things out for 5 cents each. So they get the money off the postage and they manage to sell it twice. And then you're happy because you get a half-size prop after getting, the dragon. And you're like, what the hell is this all about? So there's rip-offs on a lot of different levels.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it's all based on the concept of the customer. But, of course, if you're buying something from, like as I said earlier, like if you bought something from Amazon, you expect it to be identical to what it is that you ordered, right? Otherwise, imagine all the one-star ratings on Google and whatever else on social media. So, yeah, you are right. It's a way of getting around a certain problem. But in the end, it's still a scam. That's the bottom line. It is a scam, right? Make no bones about it. If you're not getting a product that looks exactly as the photo, it's a scam. And everybody on this show is well aware of that, right? Now, having said that, I mean, some people do order things and they get what they want. I mean, Angie's got his stuff from AliExpress. So, yeah, I guess it depends on who it is, what it is, where it is. But as we've seen, the more items that are turning up that are incorrect versus those that are correct, it's the scale is too far the wrong way. But anyway, it doesn't matter.
We have got some good items that have been better than I thought they'd be. The critters and the headpiece to the staff of Ra and some stuff like that have been really cheap and really good quality. But it's like Dag said, you're rolling the dice and often you come up with snake eyes. And it's not good.
Exactly right. Ripping it out of the wallet, I think it's a very, very cool. Anyway, so we look, for this show, we know what's going on. It's no big deal. All right, so Ronnie had to be told about the timeline of shame, right? So this is how he was advised.
Yeah. Dear Ronnie, Greg King has made his timeline of shame, and it is very shameful indeed. Sorry, that was meant to be it. It seems that you guys owe me $260 from various orders that didn't turn up and $50 in additional postage I have paid towards some of these orders. Can you help a friend, Aron?
So what do you reckon Ronnie had to say about that? Okay, so Ronnie could do one of two things. And this is after our just discussion a couple of moments ago about, because you're trying to say, Ronnie's just a middle dude and all that sort of stuff. He's a cool cat. Right? He's all right. What do you reckon he's going to say? Do you reckon he's going to say, holy shit, I didn't think it was as bad as that. Don't worry, I'll get onto the lackeys and I'll have a bucket load of stuff sent to you straight away? Or is it going to be old shields up? I'm just going to defend myself. Now, people out there watching this, take a guess as to which way you reckon it went. Well, guess what? It went this way.
Dear Aron, friendship is not defined by money, but by how much you forgive. When I see timeline, I am happy. So few items outstanding. You have so many beautiful and collectible items to adorn your home from us. Think of them, not refunds. Your friend Ronnie.
Yes, think of them. Think of what you've got, not what you don't have, and be happy. So, yes, that's what you need. You're right. Extra postage again. Sorry, dude, cut you off.
Sorry, what I like is he braced himself and he thought it was going to be worse than it actually was. He saw that timeline and goes, I'm happy with that. It's only a couple of items.
Yeah. You're thinking $260? That's nothing. There's this dude over in America. He sent $600. He still hasn't got his stuff. So, you are right. He's a glass half full person. Absolutely. Yes, it's like, yes, the world is good. Why do you complain? I mean, it's funny from their perspective, Ronnie and the company, they go, mate, what are they complaining about, man? They've sent us the money. See, they didn't get the items. Big deal. It's all good.
Well, I think probably, look, I'm not sure, and I could be making assumptions. $260 is probably about a month's wages in some of the factories over there, I'm sure.
Yeah, exactly right. He's looking at you, Ronnie. Fantastic. All right, so what was your response back to him?
Dear Ronnie, I will dwell on your sage words of wisdom and weigh up them against a PayPal claim. In the meantime, can you please provide a product review for the 3 watches I received, and please spend some time in it explaining why a dinosaur watch is acceptable. Your pal, Aron.
Yeah, so one of the gags we've got on the show, when products do turn up, we get Ronnie reviews, Ronnie Woo's product reviews. And, okay, you got 3 items, which 2 of them look pretty good. The third one was complete tripe. What do you reckon he had to say about that?
If you are looking for a cheap watch that looks like it might be good, this is the items for you. Don't worry if Alice in Wonderland actually turned out to be Dinosaur Park. Cooler movie anyway. It great value at small price with higher than usual chance that product will be just like pictures you see when you make the order. Watches are useful and keep very accurate time sometimes and look like props from your favorite movies. So all friends will swoon and wish for one themselves. I give these items 10 out of 10 for value and also give them 10 for each item. Greg King, you did it again.
I love that. So in other words, they keep the right time sometimes. Oh, dude, that is just too good.
So I think his reviews, like every single one of them, has been a 10 out of 10 raving review for everything. It's fantastic.
Gotta say, I absolutely love it. That is very, very cool. So yes, so that's part of the story in the saga, and I think we're getting a bit of getting some love out of it and some joy. But yes, indeedy doody didy. Yes, very good. Yes, you are correct. The time is correct at least twice a day. That is very, very true. Except unless it's a digital.
So I have a question for you, Dags. Do you think now he knows we do a show, he is trying to be funny, or do you think this really is the legitimate response he would write and give to everyone?
No, I think it's legitimate actually. So. Because they obviously get a lot of complaints, and his job is to make everybody's day happy and just spill out all this stuff. It could a lot of it could already be pre-written. They're just adding bits along the way. I don't know, but I can't imagine he's just sitting there typing out brand new messages just for you. Oh no, he could be. I don't know, but
I don't know. Yeah.
Yes, the Ronnie saga continues. Indeedy doody dolly. All right, very, very cool. So that's what the latest that's been going on with that. It's absolutely spectacular. We're going to love it. And yes, you don't forget you can go into the store. Just get to in a sec. You can go into the store and see all the previous items that have arrived, the ones that did turn up in Aron's store. Sorry, dude, go for it.
One thing I do wonder, and this happens across our social media, on other posts and other things we do that isn't Rip It Off the Card, we still get people mentioning Ronnie. I do wonder if there is a warehouse in China or somewhere where people are laughing and talking about Greg King, you did it again, as they put crap into a box and go, oh, that's no good. I wonder if it works the other way because he's telling people about what's happening.
That's a good conspiracy theory. He said to them, deliberately put in a Jurassic Park watch or Jurassic World watch because we want to see how the reaction is at this end when you open it up and put it on the show.
Well, the thing was, I did say that was the only one I really want to be correct because I'm buying it for Chad. And that was the one that was the wrong item. I mean, that's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah, well, Chad's a bit of a dinosaur anyway, so it all kind of fits in the end. All right, so it's time for us to move on. We've enjoyed our Greg King's cheaper things, but now it's time for a little bit of something that's probably more wrong than right. It's this. All right, so the Lord Vile's Vile File, and absolutely, and I'll tell you what, we're probably going to get some Facebook strikes on this one. So everybody, just hold on to your hats because we've got a letter that's come through. Isn't that right, Mr. Aron? We've got this one. Kick it off.
We have, and it inspired an internet search, and I do have to say, all of these are real. None of these are made up fake ones because there are sites where you can find that kind of thing. Dear Lord Vile, my son brought home a picture of a piece of art from school, and I thought that you may like it. Do you want to stick it on the Sith fridge? From Dave Gee.
I love to see what a Sith fridge looks like. All right, so what are we looking at? We're looking at artwork from kids. Is that right?
We are. We're looking at probably inappropriate artwork for kids. But did you know, Dags, that over the school holidays, the Vile School of Art opened? So if you wanted your little kindy kid to go and have some entertainment for the day, you could go and you could have an art class with the Vile, because he is an artist, isn't he?
He is in real life. Absolutely. And I've got, this is a comment. You're right. Vile and kids art. What could go wrong? Well, that is a very, 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 and you're right, Christy. Be afraid, be very, very afraid, because yes, let's have a look and see what kids come up with in their art classes.
So, this is a fantastic piece of art that was done by one of the kids in the Vile art class. The kid really loves sport, and that is of his coach blowing a whistle. So it's a rather large whistle. It's quite a mouthful, actually.
Is that what they call them these days? I'm just blowing a whistle, if you don't mind, umpire. Oh God, that's not inappropriate. Oh, there you go. The comments are all coming out now. All right, what else we got?
So I don't know if you can read what's on the bottom there, but it actually says, I whacked it off. And the guy is, the kid has drawn a picture of him whacking a fly that was on his hand. So he whacked it off. And then next to it, we have a lovely picture that was actually a lighthouse. So that's a picture of a lighthouse there. So these are fantastic things that the Vile does have on his fridge because he's very proud of the art students that are in his class.
I hate to see the magnets he's using to hold it up. So there you go.
I think the
very,
magnet,
very good.
The magnet holding it to the fridge is actually called a Prince Albert, but there you go. So these are, it's a king with his crown and some knights with some swords. They almost look like Jedi there, don't they? Almost.
Absolutely love it. It's that little bit of the nose there that's got me intrigued. Oh dear. Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Yeah, so you do wonder what the inspiration is for some of these pictures.
I'm pretty sure it was the Knights of Ren, but there you go. This one, one of the little kids has drawn their mum using a vacuum cleaner. So the mum there is cleaning the floor, and then you've got a guy on the other side there, and he's showing his ring. So he's showing everybody his ring, and that's why it's like lit up on his finger. So they're two fantastic portraits that some of the kids in the Viles art class have done of their parents. What do you think of those, Dags?
I'm going to say, we're going to get me a vacuum cleaner that looks like that.
I don't know. Maybe
is it like Mega made? You can change it to suck and blow and all.
Well, I don't know. It's probably a Dyson.
She's waxing the floor. Oh, jeepers creepers. Oh, goodness gracious. All right, so there you go. Remember, these are all done through innocent eyes, kids.
Now, some people have still lives where they have a bowl of fruit where you might get some oranges or apples or a pineapple. But one of the kids decided he wanted to do a still life of some scissors. So he's written down the bottom what it is. And you can see that that's a very accurate pair of red scissors. And then the one on the right there with some really interesting looking characters. It has a little bit of writing too. I often dream big. And I think it just says something else.
Well, love. Can't read the other word.
Yeah. Well, love much. I often dream big. Well, love much. I don't know what's going on there. It must be a little bit abstract art, I would say. But
yeah, I mean, the fact that he can spell scissors but still not get the picture right sort of makes you wonder, right? And you are right. Lucky they're not Wonder Woman scissors because we saw what they were like when we first showed those a few months back. So very, very cool.
This is a great one. It's kind of like the bookend to the first one that we got sent in for the segment with the dog covered in blood. And there's a little dog Buster there that's been chopped in half, and the bigger dog is going, puppy.
Puppy. Oh dear. Oh, I love it. That's just fantastic. Oh gosh, yes. Out of the mouth of kids, is that right?
Well, this one's an interesting one. Do you know what that is?
No.
It's a family portrait, so it's mum and dad and brother and sister, and you can see, I guess, the eyes and the nose and the big round things, maybe their hands. I don't know if it's sort of Grimace from McDonald's or whatever, but it's looking quite weird, isn't it, for that family? You'd definitely notice them walking down the street. That's for sure.
Totally agree with you. As Glennis has said, yeah, to be a kid again, you can get away with this sort of stuff. Absolutely fantastic. And I agree with Daniel on this one. Yeah, there is a little blue pill that can help with the dream. So how about that? Yes, it's clearly not a flattering portrait of the family, but A for effort no matter what.
This is a fantastic one. Everyone can see that's Buzz Lightyear, and he's saying in that speech bubble, "I'm Buzz Lightyear and I come in peace." Except the kid hasn't been able to spelled peace wrong. So I'm Buzz Lightyear and I come in pies, which maybe he's been watching an American Pie movie or something like that.
I couldn't work out what it was that he said. It's like, what is he trying to say? Oh, yeah, I come in peace. That really is a case of shoot to kill, doesn't it? Eh? Oh, my God. It's like, dude, you do need to be taught. Don't worry about spelling peace right. You just got to change the other one.
And that was actually the Vile's #1 student over the school holidays, because that's quite that's quite a good
Oh, God, that's so funny. Come in twice. Oh, absolutely
yes.
love it.
Well, do you know what? It's pretty lucky he left Woody out of the picture.
Yes, exactly. Where is Woody? Yeah, there's a lot of jokes that can come out of that. But let's move on. So, what are you trying to tell us about all this fantastic Vile School of Art, Mr. Aron?
So if you've got a little tacker that you'd like to send to the Vile School of Art, he runs art courses over the holidays where your kids will be taught how to draw artistic pictures and portraits that will then be shown here and well and truly violated.
Absolutely fantastic. How good is that? Oh, dear. What an absolute classic. So, I got to say, that was just awesome. So, love it. Very, very cool. All right. So, now, after 2 weeks of having to miss this segment, it's finally made an appearance. We've got a little bit of time up our sleeve. So, time to get a bit of audience participation going on in the show. And it's now time for this. Ooh, baby, do you know that's what... All right, Mr. Aron. So, what are we talking about tonight? And I've lost my pictures, so give me a second. What are we talking about tonight, old son?
Well, should have been on the show 2 weeks ago, but our shows have been so overstuffed that we've had to drop it, and I've been too lazy to do an updated one. So we're going back 2 weeks and looking at show bags and stuff related to the show that's been sold on eBay recently.
Good stuff. So, as always, don't Google it, don't cheat it, don't look it up. You may have even bought some of these at the show yourself. You never go. So, you never know. So, we're talking about show bags. Okay, so let's kick it off.
So here's an interesting one: vintage Lone Ranger mask and watch show bag toys. So this isn't actually the whole show bag. It's a mask, and they look like it's got the original packing with it, and a watch from the Lone Ranger. So it's quite old. It's from the 60s, and you just never see stuff from this era. So if you want to have a guess of what that might have gone for, go ahead.
Very good. Now, Ange said 67 cents before the item even came up, so we'll see how he goes with that. What does everybody else happen to think? Colin said $15. It is from the 60s, which isn't too bad. So that's actually quite good. And of course, the Lone Ranger was very, very big back in the day. Michael has gone for 58. Mr. Phil has gone for 150. It'll come down to either it'll be very, very expensive or very, very cheap. Remembering, of course, as we discussed in the show bag episode a couple of weeks ago, show bags tend to be Australian produced only. So this stuff would be just from this country. Moneybag Sullivan has said 75. Glennis says 50, which is particularly cool. What does everybody else think? Christie's gone for 10. William's gone for 100. Rusky Babes has gone for 80. And Kelvin has gone for 100. Very, very cool. All right, so we're going to move on because otherwise time is going to be against us. So the vintage Lone Ranger mask and watch show bag toys from the 1960s. That's 50-something years ago. Has it gone up in value, or is it still cheap as it was the day it was produced? It went for a whopping $10. And Christy, who never bids on this thing normally, has got it straight away. Well done.
Well done. And I thought that was cheap because Lone Ranger is collectible again amongst Western fans, and it is a franchise that people are after. And show bags and show bag memorabilia are collectible too. So I thought this was cheap. You bought these. You go over to America where the Lone Ranger is and the whole cowboy culture is a lot more popular. You would have made a lot of money out of those, I'm very sure.
Yeah, it is surprising. After 50 years, I mean, they're almost cheaper now than what they were when they were first produced. So that's amazing, I've got to say. So, yeah, there you go. All right, next item.
So this is an empty bag. This is a show bag, rare vintage Nestle, or Nestles, as I used to call it when I was growing up.
I did too, actually. Yep.
1940s. So that's going quite a way back. Royal Melbourne Show milk chocolate malted show bag. So that's just an empty bag.
I like this from what Chris is saying. Yeah, I bid low. I don't want it, and I win. That's just the luck of the draw with a lot of people these days. So there you go. All right. So from the 1940s, and I agree with you. I always thought it was Nestles as well. None of this Nestle rubbish. It's like calling Target Target, just to try and make it sound very, very cool. Angie's gone for 1 point. That's $1.50. I'm assuming $1.50 after was it 80 years or something. Collins at 175. Moneybag Sullivan's at 50. Phil's at 150. Gavin is at 3. Michael is at 43. Well, you wouldn't want 1940s chocolate now, but if you did, imagine saying I've got a block of chocolate from the 1940s. What would that actually be worth, especially if it was like Cadbury or something like that? So that'd be very, very cool. Glennis has said 20. William has said 25. Christy, who got the last item, is at 11. Wouldn't it be funny if you got this one too, Christy? There were a few bids on it, 7 bids. So there you go. And $5 from Kelvin, which is particularly cool. So collectors of chocolate or collectors of Nestles might find this very, very interesting. So Melbourne Show, milk chocolate malted, very, very cool. Once upon a time, little kids would have gone completely apeshit over this stuff. So there you go. All right, so what do you reckon it went for? 1940s in a couple, was it 20 years' time? It'll be 100 years old. It went for 7 bids, went for a whopping $371, Mr. Aron.
I know, and I was always a Milky Bar kid myself, but there we go. It is one of those things where it must be pretty rare to be from the 40s. There wouldn't be many of them that really survived. It is something I've never seen before, but it isn't a franchise like the Lone Ranger, which I thought would have more fans. So it is purely someone who is collecting this stuff historically. So that's amazing for probably someone found this in their garage or in the bottom of a wardrobe somewhere, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like Colin's got it, but he's still got to cough up an extra bloody 200 and something bucks. I wouldn't be surprised if someone's putting it into a museum piece. I mean, that's the only reason why you'd get it. It's a bit of a historical thing rather than what it was actually originally intended for. So, and you'd find that in a museum somewhere, like Australia in the 1940s, 50s. People look at that and go, "Oh my god, that is awesome! Where did we get that from?" So, that's what I would think it's from. So, I remember this, the old Space Wars.
Everyone had this because everyone's parents were cheap asses, weren't they? They wouldn't rush out on the real one, which was probably only 50 cents more. But this was the Space Wars badge with an obvious dark fader on and a lifesaver because it's the knockoff of Star Wars. And when Star Wars came out, it was so popular. Of course, everyone jumped on the bandwagon. And do you think the show is going to miss out on some of that money? No. So they brought out sort of generic Space Wars show bags. And this is one of the items. A lot of Star Wars fans are after this kind of stuff too. So this is the oversized show bag badges. We've seen them before. This one could go for a bit. I like the X-Wing in the background too.
Yeah, I love this comment from Gavin. He's saying that, the Buzz Lightyear is the Milky Bar kid. Yes, we'll leave it at that, shall we? Very, very cool. But that's actually a very, very funny comment. Colin said $12.50. Michael's gone for $20 round figures. Moneybag Sullivan's $2. Ange is at 50 cents. Greg King has finally said it's in the $2 garage sale. Glennis has gone for 30. Phil, 150. Jeez, that's optimistic. Chrissy's gone for 95 cents. William's gone for 750 from Ronnie. Yeah, very, very good. I remember this, and it was, absolutely the ultimate of all knockoffs. I do like the fact that your cheap-ass X-Wing fight up there is fighting flying saucers. Right, I don't know what the deal is with that. But, even a rather dodgy Darth Vader helmet can still be completely identifiable as to what it's meant to be. Gavin has gone for $1,000, which is probably a bit over the top, and Kelvin's gone for 50. So there you go. The old Space Wars. Absolutely awesome. And for in case you couldn't tell, it was made in Hong Kong. So there you go. They couldn't make that text any bigger, could they? So very groovy. All right, a vintage Space Wars badge, Star Wars knockoff. Yeah, reckon Australian show bag merchandise. For that reason alone, it could be very worth a lot of money in the US. Okay, so how much did it go for? It went for a whopping $40, Mr. Aron. Cheap as chips, mate.
Well, that is one of those. It could have gone for higher. It could have gone for low. There are people after these, actually. You can see there was quite a few. No, there was only one bid on this one, actually, wasn't there? So this one just went for the minimum price. I have seen them go for a lot more, and I have picked them up, as Greg Kingwood does say, $2 from garage sales. It does look like Roger Corman presents Star Wars, the Space Wars version, doesn't it?
Yep. So it's in between Glenn and Kelvin. So Glenn said 30, Kelvin said 50. So one has to cough up $10, one gets $10 back. So you guys can fight it out amongst yourself. You can actually have your own space war trying to determine who gets the badge. So very, very cool. Good stuff. But yes, I do remember this, and it'd be kind of funny if this went for a lot of money. Be like, oh my God, I wouldn't have expected that. But I do think that, yes, I agree. In some collections in the US, that would have a bit of money associated with it, which is particularly cool. All right, here we go. Oh, it's time for us to kiss and make up. Get it? Kiss and make up.
I do like how Kelvin's regenerated into a telephone this week as well. Very, very interesting. This is an original Kiss badge. A Kiss mask that was only available in the Kiss show bag. And we did see the ad for this a couple of weeks ago, where realistic hair on like a mask. These are quite collectible, very hard to get. The show bags, any show bags from that era is hard to get, but this is one of the items that obviously got damaged quite quick and disposed of, because those cheap badges don't really last. Why am I saying badges? Those cheap masks don't really last. So this is a nice item for someone who might be trying to complete their show bag.
Yeah, it might have been kicked around a fair bit, this mask, but as you can see, it took a licking, but kept on ticking. Boom, tish. Alrighty, where are we? Ange has gone for $50. Gavin's gone for 75. Moneybag Sullivan's at 300. Michael's gone for 590. Phil's gone for 150. Oh, no one's going cheap on this, are they? Glennis is at 100. Colin has gone for 55. William has gone for 100. So there's a bit of money being chucked around here at the moment. So very good stuff. So what does everybody else think? A rare Gene Simmons mask and disco show bag from 1980. And Christy's gone for 1 cent. Wouldn't it be funny if you got it for 1 cent? And you actually have one, for those who don't know, Christy has actually one item to fall with 1 cent associated with them. So, but the fact that the hair is all still attached to everything, that is particularly cool. Very, very good. All right, so what do you reckon it went for? Rare Kiss Gene Simmons mask, disco show bag. Kelvin's gone for 35, which is cool. 1980 Aussie tour, yay team. And considering they just left the country only a few weeks ago, what do you reckon it went for? It went for a whopping $500, Mr. Aron.
I know, that is crazy. Imagine trying to assemble the whole show bag one piece at a time if you're paying that much for it. I didn't do all the other items from the Kiss bag. It is one of those things where if you have a nice complete show bag, it's nice to keep together. But if you have a nice complete show bag and sell every item separately, you get 3 times as much than if you sell the show bag together. So that's a tip if you ever get any show bags. I think maybe Michael got that.
Michael, but he gets $90 back too, which is he can use that for the shipping. For a plastic mask, I mean, that's a bit of a hard one to sort of fathom. If you brought that home to your other half and said, I paid $500 for this, people would go, mate, you got bricks in your head. But clearly, I mean, Kiss merchandise has always been popular. It's Australian produced. It's from the 80s. You can imagine there would be a fair bit of interest in it, which is particularly cool. So I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. The irony being, of course, that when it came out in the show bag in the 80s, it was like cheap as, like virtually rubbish. But was this rubbish? This is our last item. What does everybody have to say about this?
So this is the real official Star Wars show bag. Interesting fact, my first memories of Star Wars is actually the ad for this bag, because I remember seeing that in the morning before I even saw ads for the actual movie. So this is a paper bag. This is why a lot of them don't exist. Before they had the plastic bags at the show, very, very early ones I remember being paper. I was in that era where most of them were plastic. So not a lot of these survive, because obviously the plastic ones, have a bit more durability and life to them. So these turn up very, very seldomly. It is a very hard piece to get. And this is just the bag as well.
I was in primary school when a kid who I didn't know this kid was, he was younger than me, actually had one of these. And I go, holy shit, where did you get that from? I was like, I never even saw it at the show. So, and that was the Melbourne show. So I was just like blown away. It looked fantastic. All right, Andrew's gone for 562. Colin has gone for 450. Michael has gone for $1,200. There you go. And Moneybag Sullivan is a 350. Gavin has gone for 3,000. What?
5,000.
Oh, yeah, right. Instead of 5,000 I bought this for $500. How want these lucky beans? Oh, sorry, I don't know what we're talking about, Christy. 5,000 for Gavin, 250 for Glenn, 300 for Kelvin. William's gone for 2,500. It's just an empty bag, kids. Don't forget that. Christy's gone for $15. All right, there you go. Let's go a bit now. So there you go. So it's Australian produced. It's an ultra rare collectible from 1978. What do you reckon it went for? There were 2 bids. It's as simple as that. Just went bang, bang, sold. So from the Sydney Royal Easter Show, I don't know if they had different ones for the Melbourne show or not. I would assume they didn't. But yes, very, very cool. And as Aaron said, ultra rare. How much do you reckon it went for? An empty bag. That's all it is, right? Just with R2 and 3PO on the front. It went for a whopping $1,000, Mr. Aaron.
Yes, that's pretty close again with Michael. He knows his stuff. I think Christy was alluding to if you bought that for $500, you'd be buying magic beans as well, where you'd be able to get a whole tin with 1,000. That is a really rare piece, and there'd be a lot of Star Wars fans that didn't have that in their collection. That is one of those items I have never owned. That is a really unusual and hard item to find. Maybe one of those kind of shows up every 5 or 6 years. It's not a common piece.
Yeah, it's pretty significant, that's for sure. And you can imagine some people, American collectors, have just said, "I've never even seen that before," and it would have all the official details on the bottom that would have confirmed that it's not just some cheap knockoff. And they would have produced thousands of them. That's the irony of it. And they would have produced tens of thousands of these things between the Melbourne show and the Sydney show, maybe even Brisbane as well. Yeah,
well, that's
surprising.
That's the thing we talked about show bags, and out of those thousands, half of them got destroyed in the car on the way home because they were just full of crap. No one kept them. No one kept any of the items in them sealed and in nice condition, and a lot of them probably got thrown out within a week.
Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, someone now has got one for $1,000 and good on it too. All right. So before we move on to our feature presentation, just a quick reminder, if you haven't done so already, be sure to check out all of the Sci-Fi Zone socials on, bloody Twitch and Instagram and all that other stuff. Make sure you keep on tabs of what's going on, because we've got shows on Monday, we've got shows tonight, we've got shows on Thursday, and there could be more stuff coming. You never know. And of course, you haven't got a chance to do that, then by all means, go check out good old Aron's store in Blackburn. So you can go in there and check out the old Greg King's Cheaper Things. What do you reckon there, Mr. Aron?
Yeah, and as I said, buying, selling, and chatting, and we love to just chat with customers about collectibles. And we have a lot of customers who are friends who'll come in and spend the afternoon, and we'll have lunch with them, and we go to movies with them and all that kind of stuff. And then there's other people like Russell who we don't do anything with at all.
Love the sound of that. Very, very cool. Yes, how many showbags get destroyed on the train? There would be lots and lots and lots and lots. Very, very cool. Yeah. Actually, you're right, Moneybags. It might be on its way to Rancho Obi-Wan. So, yes, very, very cool. All right, now it's now time for our feature presentation, which is that there. Now, Mr. Aron, I believe you want to do something funky before we start pressing buttons over here. Is that right?
Yeah, this is something we haven't done on the show before. So while we've got our feature presentation up,
you want it up, do you?
Yeah. So we can't see. I'm actually going to move we've got a second display this week. I've just got to set up though. So,
so talk amongst yourselves, everybody. So there you go.
Here we go. Now, I've got to be very careful because if you want to, how's that looking, Dags? And it probably just wasn't worth it, was it? But behind me,
I've tilt the camera down, dude. There we go.
So
beautiful.
Behind me, I've got some of the stuff that we've got in this deceased estate, and it's all stacked up behind me, and I can't touch it because it'd fall down before you can say, "Oh, Jongo, that's a no-no." But we're going to be talking about some of this stuff behind me tonight, and we've got much better pictures than that. But I just thought we'd have a bit of a change rather than the Doctor Who display.
Very good. Which means, of course, we're going to be discussing this. So was it all worth it, Mr.
Oh, yes, indeed it was. And I will still be going out there and looking through stuff from this collection. It is, as I said, sorting a hoarder's collection, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because there's some good stuff, there's some bad stuff, and there's some ugly stuff. And I think, Dags, you've been watching at the sidelines at the moment where I've been bringing boxes and truckloads into the shop, but you really haven't seen a lot. And Dags hasn't been out to the estate where Chad, who I work with, has. It is the most incredible estate I've ever seen. We talked about it last week. And since then, I found a lot more stuff and got a lot more of the backstory.
All right. In one sentence, keep it short. What have you been doing?
I've been taking carloads of stuff out of a hoarder's estate.
It's a deceased hoarder's estate, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And there was a lot of stuff that had to be moved very, very quickly before it got destroyed. And Aron went in there and saved the day, as it were. Now, last week, there was a lot of discussion, and we actually showed video of the actual person's place. And of course, it's been raining and all the rest of it, so that didn't help. And he's been collecting stuff, this person, since the 1970s, besides old videotapes, but also pop culture stuff as well. That's the short of it. All right, so this time around, what we've got now is you've been sorting through it all. Is that correct?
Yeah, so last week there was a general report on finding the estate, going through the house and getting a general idea of what was there. Last week we were more looking at the historically important items that were going to the archive and how we have cleaned that out, and how we've got that ready for the Australian National Archive to pick up and go to Canberra. This week I'm looking more at the stuff that I've picked up for the shop. Some of it is stuff I have never had before. Some of it is stuff I never thought anyone would keep and collect. A lot of the stuff that I've got isn't really valuable from a monetary point of view, but really should go into a museum. The stuff I've been pulling out, I'm still thinking about maybe going to Acme or something like that and saying, do you want to do an amazing display on handouts for underground clubs and stuff like that? Because this guy kept absolutely everything. And I have been sending to Dags all week flyers from the Doctor Who Club, from the Star Walking, from the Star Trek Club.
Yeah, you don't have to say what we're going to be showing, because otherwise you're just repeating yourself. So it's very, very cool. We need to rename you Flash Aron, because effectively you'll save the day. You'll save every one of us. So all those collectibles are going, oh my God, it's Flash Aron. He's here to save the universe, which is absolutely cool. All right, we're going to get moving on this.
I prefer to be known as Dr. Hahn's Capitalist Dog Zarkov.
What capitalist dog? What would you say that? Love that little woofer.
Yeah, I would like to point out all the stuff we sent up to the archives. We arranged to do that for them for free. So that was, we had to get them to get an 8-ton truck.
All right. So there's a lot of stuff you're going to be looking at. Some of it, like if you've been around in the pop culture circuit for quite a long time, you go, oh my God, I haven't seen that for a long time. And the first thing that I saw was this good old alternate worlds bags. How good's that?
Well, this is crazy. The guy collected comics, and he collected a lot of comics, and he brought them home, and he never read anything he brought. He brought multiple copies of the same comic, and they all came home and they stayed in the bag that they were bought in. And you can see on the top of the second pile of bags there, he also kept the train ticket that he went into the city or wherever he got them from. He kept the receipt, and he would often stick a little piece of paper and say everything he did during the day in the bag as well.
That Zone 1 ticket is an absolute ball terror. I thought, I haven't seen one of those in decades. I thought, oh my God, that is so old school. Before Mikey and all the rest of it. That alone is a collectible, I've got to say. I reckon the RTA or the Vic Roads, what do you call it, the train crowd, they'll be going, I've got to get one of those.
Yeah. Well, there were hundreds of them, like Zone 1, Zone 2, 1, 2, 3.
There was millions of them, dude. I mean, everybody had them. So, because you had Zone 1, 2, and 3, and Zone 1 was the inner city. So there would have been millions of these printed. I'm saying, today, mate, that is old school.
I'm saying there are hundreds of them in this estate. If you collect train tickets. So crazy.
Yeah. So, and I love the alternate worlds bags. That's just grouse. Yeah.
Well, the other thing we've done, and this is why I said it belongs in a museum, but I really don't know where. We have hundreds of different bags from different comic shops, and they've all got amazing art. It'll be DC or Spider-Man or something like that. And I've just been sticking them on my wall at work. And they're not like one-offs. This guy had multiples, like many hundreds of them, and we've got so many bags. I think the picture comes up later. I've saved the bags. I don't know what to do with them, so I'm going to start giving retro bags when people buy stuff at the shop, and it'll freak people out because they'll get a Gaslight Records or a Brashers or an Alternate Worlds or a Minotaur from the 80s. It's quite amazing the amount of stuff he kept. I do like to recycle. I do think there's probably some pop culture value in it, but I just don't know how you'd use it. I mean, You might be surprised by some of the stuff I've been sending you, because it is a bit of a spin out, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all old-fashioned plastic, absolutely shit ass for the environment. So you might as well give it to somebody else, and it becomes their problem as they come buying stuff through the store. Rusky Babes, Vic Rail, it would have been back then.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So here we go. Got some stuff here.
So this is as I am cleaning out the bags, and it is just, he collected everything. It is just a mix of different comics from different genres. So there's some Scooby-Doo ones there. There's some alternate comics. Then there's superheroes, G.I. Joe, Aliens, Predator, Batman. We got one coming up. I don't know if I took a picture of it. Predator versus Tarzan. I mean, they really did everything with those crossovers. In the top there, you can see there is folders, the plastic sleeves. And each one of those plastic sleeves, he kept one of those for every single day of his life. And he would write what he did during that day, and then anything he bought or picked up that day, he would put into that sleeve, and then they all went into either folders or document boxes. And he did this for 50 years. It is, without seeing it, I cannot explain how mind-blowing this is, how the man basically catalogued and kept everything from his life. And when I say everything, he did not throw food wrappers out or anything like that. They are all folded down and put into the folders with everything he did that day.
Three things. Give me quick answers to this one. Rusky Babes asked, any space age bags?
I haven't come across any. No, there weren't. That was unusual. There aren't any.
Because there were space age books in the 80s. Williams asked if alternate worlds want their bags back. I think you find they've got the address written on the bags. And of course, they've got a different address now. So the answer would be no. Plus, being used, wouldn't be a good idea to say, oh, we're reusing bags from the 1970s. They probably like one or two just purely as a bit of historical reference, but that would be it. And Christy, you probably find he's already done this. Talk to the Melbourne Museum, dedicated space for these things. Have you, just yes or no, have you sort of spoken to those guys?
No, because I'm still going through and getting stuff. I am going to contact Acme and I am going to contact the museum just to see what they say. When we go through this, you will see the absolute insanity of how much stuff there is. So
cool.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right.
So these comics are all basically brand new, as in they were bought and they were put into the bag on the day they were bought, and they were brought home and put in folders, and they have been left there till this week. So some of them are 70s, some of them are 80s, some of them are 90s. The other thing is, he didn't just keep one of each comic. He would often get 2 or 3 of each issue. So you can see there's the first Alien versus Predator, and there's Star Trek movies and Next Generation movies. There's some really weird stuff like Tism, the comic based on the alternate Australian band. There's a whole lot of different sort of manga stuff. There's The Crow. Some I found in the shop today, and I didn't have time to take photos of. Elvira, Mistress of the Dark comic run, which would make a fantastic Halloween sort of display. So I'm opening these comics, and that new comic smell? They all smell brand new.
So what's going to be the future of these comics? They're going into the store? Are you keeping them? What are you doing?
So at the moment, I've put a pause on sorting them, because us actually sorting them is making them in lesser condition than they are. So we've just ordered boards and bags for them, so we can, instead of sorting them into piles of what they are, take them out and board and bag them straight away so they stay in the pristine condition that they're in. So that looks like that could be your Saturday, Dags, bags and boarding comics.
Mate, when it comes to bags, I'm the dude. All right, very, very cool.
And here's some of the other ones. And again, you can see it's just a broad range of everything, where you've got the Twilight Zone, and then you've got kids' cartoons, Nam and Tech, and some comics I've never seen. And then there's RoboCop there. But the other thing he used to do, which a lot of people would remember, and maybe some people did, but I've never seen it to this extent. On the end there, you can see the Who's Who in DC. These used to be like free little giveaways that you could get in comic shops, and sometimes they would be like little comics, or sometimes they'd just be a flyer, or sometimes they'd just open up an A4 page and it'd be 4 pages or something. He magpied everything. He took anything that was free and available. So the bags of comics will have 5 bought comics, and then 5 DC and Marvel promos and stuff on alternate comics and all this other stuff. And this is the stuff that I don't think anyone has really collected, and I don't think there's any inherent value to, but it would be the biggest collection of this stuff I have ever seen.
For those who don't know, Tech World at the top there, that was actually based on the book that William Shatner wrote. I didn't even realize they made a comic for it. So I was like, okay, that could be, for those who didn't want to read the books, the comic might be the go, but that could be a bit of a rarity for itself too. So very cool.
And you can see there at the top, that's a bag just of bags that I've sorted, and they're all different bags from different comic shops all over Melbourne. So there's kind of the underground history of Melbourne comic shops in bags. And comic shops are interesting because they would change the graphics and the art on the bags to what's popular. So some of them are DC and some of them are Marvel. Some of them, I collected comics, not a lot, but I'd always be in these shops. And there are some I've never seen, and I was in there a lot, so it really shows you the depth of stuff there was. That 0 one in the middle was signed. And I looked into the history of that. And the very first Armageddons, that was an indie, that was a Melbourne indie comic. And the guy won Best Comic and was signing them. And it goes right back to then. So there's just some amazing local history that's in this lot of just this massive lot of ephemera.
Yeah, it was the reason why I took the picture off. Ange said the Star Trek fan club of Oz, and I had to look at it. We're trying to work out what he's referring to. I realised down here, this issue here is from the official Star Trek fan club of Australia, which existed in the late 90s to the early 2000s.
And didn't that go well for them?
Yeah, well, exactly right. I mean, originally it was the New South Wales fan club, and it got absorbed into what was the official fan club. Didn't last very long. I mean, they had ran some conventions or whatever, but they did produce their own newsletter. I can't remember if it had a special name or not, but yeah, if there are issues of that around, that's a bit of old school, sort of like what do you call it? It's like trips down memory lane, that's for sure. Speaking of trips down memory lane, as you've mentioned, I mean, aside from all the professional stuff, there's the stuff that was just produced on hand, including all the catalogs and things for the respective stores. I thought this was interesting, the alternate worlds and Minotaur stuff. Love this one. Burke Street, Minotaur is moving. How good's that?
I actually remember that. That was a spin out for me when they actually moved. They did this Burke to the Future, and when they were moving, and they had the Blues Brothers, and it was kind of a cool and groovy thing. And that was one of those things I thought I would never see again. I don't know if I needed to see it again, but this guy has all of the alternate worlds updates. So you've got that one there with the alien cover, but there's all these different ones, and some of them are really amazing artwork. They've obviously just come out of the comics that are in them, but I remember picking up this stuff, one or two, but this guy, I am not joking, has thousands of them. Thousands.
There you go. Rusky Bros has asked if there are any Frontier mags. Have you come across any Frontier magazines at all in your travel?
I haven't. But to give you an idea of how much stuff there is there, I've been we've got a lot of it back to the shop and in storage, and I've been through about 5% of it. There is that much, and we've been moving stuff for weeks.
That's all right. For those who don't know, Frontier was an Australian science fiction movie media magazine. It was actually produced locally in Australia in the late 90s and the early 2000s. And I know that for a fact because my other half was the editor of it and the producer, and I got articles in it as well. Didn't last long. I think there's a few people who watch this show remember it really, really well, but it just didn't have a very long lifespan, which is unfortunate. But yeah, so that'd be sort of classed as a bit of a historical curiosity. So there we go.
And here is the type of thing where I'm talking about. He just kept everything from every day. So I am not just opening comic book stuff. I'll open a bag of papers and you can see there's ads for record fairs. There's like army disposal catalogs. There's charts. And when he took charts, he wasn't the nice person that just took one chart from Brash's sitting on their counter. He took about 20 of each one. And I do know people try and collect these charts, and you can go to record fairs and buy them. And, it's quite a challenge to find them. Well, I win. I got all of them, 20 of each one, all in one go. Thousands of them. It is just incredible. And not just the Coca-Cola chart, the Triple M chart, the Eon FM chart, the 3AK chart. It is just astounding. Like I said, it needs to be curated and go to a museum, but I just don't know how I'm ever going to do it. So you can
one saga at a time. Yeah, Soldier of Fortune. You're back in the days when guns and army magazines were the go, and you can make them and produce them and sell them, and people would say, "Oh, mate, give me a guns and weapons mag any day of the week." We don't see many of those anymore, but yes, very cool.
And here's some of the stuff I was talking about earlier, and this particularly strikes a chord with me, and I was excitedly sending stuff to Dags as well, but he kept all these adverts for old conventions and screenings and fan club meetings and stuff like that. Now, you might have the fanzines, but not a lot of people were dedicated enough to keep all the flyers that were put out to advertise fan club meetings. And we've got their Survival 94, which was a very famous Melbourne event, famous because it was run so horrendously bad that none of the guests turned up. Everyone felt ripped off, and it was a terrible, terrible event that people talk to this day. And Dags was saying to me earlier when I found the Alien double screening that they only pulled off one of the screenings and they only showed half at the event. Was that right, Dags?
Yeah, so it's kind of funny looking at this. This sort of brings back a fair bit of history. Now, first things first, Colin said 3XY charts. Yes, there would have been, because 3XY was a rock station before FM became the thing.
Yeah.
So, yes, 3XY was the go. All right. So it's very interesting. So you're talking about Survival in 94, yeah, which wasn't much chop. This event here, right? It's actually run by two conventions, Star Walking Inc., the second convention, and Vampiricon, the national convention, blah, 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 of Australia. I was on the committee for Star Walking Inc., the second convention, and I actually co-ran with my ex at the time, Vampiricon. So I was involved with that particular event. And if I recall, only one of the two movies was able to be screened. And funnily enough, down here, you got the 1994 St. Valentine's Day Science Fiction Charity Ball. I was involved with that as well. I think I did the music for it. And a few bits, you got Constantinople down here, which is a convention held in Easter at 1994, the last time a sci-fi media and literature convention were held together. And of course, you got the flyers for Enterprise up there. So the fact that this guy kept all this stuff is kind of bizarro, really, because a lot of people don't keep the flyers. They just chuck them out afterwards. But there's a bit of history for you.
Well, unfortunately, before I got to the estate, a lot of this stuff was thrown out as well. That's why I was a bit disappointed when it comes from a museum point of view. But now I'm going through it. There is absolutely enough to put an amazing display together. The crazy thing is, I'm finding stuff associated with Dags. I've found stuff that was sold to him by me 30, 40 years ago with my handwritten price stickers on, which is crazy. And then the last picture down there in the corner was a Doctor Who sort of joined the Doctor Who club when Shane Cook was the president, back when I was on the committee. So Phil, who is our president at the moment, is on the feeds and commenting. He would have probably joined back then, and that might have been one of the forms he filled when he was a young tacker to join the Doctor Who Club of Victoria way back in the early 90s or late 80s.
It could be indeed. Now, Phil's actually said about sending some of the stuff to him at the Doctor Who Club of Victoria. I've actually got a video of Phil from 1993 at a Doctor Who Club meeting, or Doctor Who Club meeting, and he's just a young kid then. Rusky Babes asked about the Styrofoam Cup. Nobody will know what I'm talking about, but no, that came by a few years after the 1994 version. And there was a classic comment here. I've just lost it. Oh, here we go. Hang on. Sorry. Survival 94, a Ronnie production. Yeah, that's probably not far from the truth, actually, when you sit and think about it. So
the one thing I am probably going to do is, because there was multiples of all of these things, I will probably put packs together for the Doctor Who Club and for the Star Wars clubs and for Oztrek, and hand them on to the right people. Because I think they're probably the custodians. The only trouble with that is sometimes I have handed stuff over and committees changed and all the stuff I've handed over has disappeared with the previous committee. So sometimes I just wish I'd held on to it. Yeah,
I used to be the archivist for Star Walking Inc. and was very diligent. I actually had those flyers, but they've been handed over like a dozen times to different people. Ange has you beat me place. But you are right. For a lot of people, it's like, it's great that we've got this. You put it away and it just gets forgotten and then just get handed down to different people with different priorities. Unfortunately, it's a part of history that a lot of people don't even know. It's all great and wonderful. I said, I've been on the committee for 6 years, but you're talking about an event that happened 20 years ago, 30 years ago. People go, mate, it doesn't compute. So, unfortunately, that's the downside of trying to keep things from a long, long time ago. So,
the best reaction I had, I haven't got a picture of it, sorry. I contacted the Friends of the Ends, which is the Split Ends fan club. And I said, I've got something you haven't got. And they said, we've got absolutely everything. And then I showed them the paper bag from Brash's advertising the upcoming Tim Finn album. And they were like, oh, actually, we would really love that from our archives, because they didn't have it. So this is the level of stuff that's turning up at this collection.
And Phil does remember, because I think I sent it through to him. He was a teenager on the footage, the Doctor Who Trivial Pursuit Day. Any Supervox? Have you come across fanzines at all?
I haven't got any Supervox, and I'm looking to complete my set of those myself, because I've only got about half of them. So I'm hoping we find some. There are fanzines in it.
All right. Continuing the theme of locally produced stuff.
Now, the other thing that is just incredible, and this is going to be the biggest collection that's ever turned up, even people who deliberately collected it, they're not going to have as much stuff as this. This is every underground flyer and poster and advert for clubs in Melbourne. So if you used to, go to the Corner, or you go to the Espy, or a million different clubs, he kept all the flyers for every single one. So there is a lot of bands I have never heard of. There's a lot of bands I remember when I was in uni but never did anything. And there is a lot of big bands as well that were starting out. The Meanies and Spiderbait and some of these things, for anyone who's into music. This is sort of the almost fan art fanzines for bands that got put together and used. And it was very ephemeral, because it would often be saying, this band is playing at the Corner this week. So they were around for a week and then they were gone. And this guy collect multiples of all of them. And there are thousands and thousands and thousands of them. And this is what I'm saying. If you found the right gallery who would like to exhibit this, It would be an amazing exhibition, and it would definitely have a crowd of people who'd go and see it, because I'm not so much into music. I am a bit, and I find this fascinating, and I'd go and see it. What do you think about stuff like that, Dags? There's got to be some historical value there. There is going to be stuff that nobody else has.
Well, with that in mind, I've just looked at the next picture, and I've seen something, and it's just like, wow, you've kind of freaked me out on this one, because without you saying anything, I've looked at this picture. This is the next picture you've got, right? The Velvet Ballroom. I used to go there. It was a Gothic nightclub at the Sarah Sands Hotel. And I used to go there in the early 1990s. And I just noticed it just now. It's the first time I've seen this. It's like, oh, that's just trippy, dude.
Well, to give you an idea of how much material, that picture on the left, so that big picture, that is one bag of material. And I have thousands of bags like that are just full of advertising and flyers and freebies. You can see there's army disposals, there's Toys R Us catalogs, there's music charts. It is like overloads my brain as to what I can do with it. I'm thinking maybe because there's multiples of everything, make a really amazing collage on boards, and then take it to a record fair, put the collage behind you, and then on the table just have all of these and sell them for $1 a piece. And people would go nuts, because it's just crazy rare stuff. I don't know crazy rare valuable stuff. And like I said, I'd love for an archive to go to the Art Centre or to Acme or something like that, but I just don't know if there's enough interest in it for it to go that way. But it really is an unbelievable collection. Yes, Christie, splatterheads. These are all the type of things that I remember growing up. You see, it's got the Prince of Wales. It's like the cheap version of the Astor calendar with all the bands that were coming up for the month. And they're about the size of McDonald's tray table papers, and he's just got months and months of this stuff with everything that was going on in Melbourne. I mean, if someone wanted to curate it and put together an exhibition, it'd be mind-blowing.
Yeah, I have seen, and I've actually been to Australian rock exhibitions in the past with a lot of history in them. And you're right, there would be people or companies or groups who'd be just going, "Yep, that's awesome, send it our way." But you are right, there's so much of it, and to divvy it all up and then contact all these groups and then go through the process of handing this stuff over, it's pretty laborious. I mean, the end result would be very, very satisfying, but yeah, it's a lot of time and energy. But just like all things, it just takes time. But the good thing is, at least it's been discovered. And if it takes X amount of months or X amount of years, whoever ends up doing it, at least you know it's going to the right place. So, Rusky Babes asks, any Valhalla calendars?
I haven't come across any, and you've got to remember a lot of stuff was thrown out, unfortunately. And he said, Russell's also asked, from what year did this guy collect this stuff? He was collecting from, I would say, the mid-70s till a couple of weeks ago.
All right, cool. No worries. Moving away from where we were to here we are now.
Okay, so we've looked at a lot of the ephemera, and now I'm looking at sort of when I was getting to the end of going through the cupboards. Now this is, you can kind of see, it's a cupboard that's above a wardrobe, and you look up there and you go, well, this is really nothing. And you can see in that first picture, I don't know if you can see it, Dags, the mold on the roof, and then inside the cupboard is wet. Now I moved that and dumped a face full of brown water into my face because the roof was leaking, and that was one of those more disgusting moments because it's up above you, so you reach up to get something down, and when you tip it forward, all the water that's on the top that I didn't know there just fell into my
Dude,
face.
You just took one for the team. It's all it was.
So this is an example. This is an example why you've got to look at everything, because it's actually the picture underneath the words sorting hoarders is what I looked at, and you can see it's right in the far corner. And you can kind of see there's some bags up there that are wrapped up in garbage bags. There's some stuff inside them. So when I got up there and moved it sideways, you can see the picture on the left is what I found. So there's bags, and it all turned out to be board games. So this is what we're going to look through and what is actually behind me. And it is one of the nicest collections of 60s and 70s board games I've come across, to the point where some of the stuff I found, I can't find any other examples, not just mentioned, not at all. So there's no pictures and there's no mention of them. And they're Australian, like Morphit and Toll Toys and local companies as well, which is really amazing to see stuff from this era in such amazing condition. You can see there's Twister and Mousetrap and there's Monopoly, but they're all much older versions in much nicer condition than I've ever seen any of these before. So I thought, because we're a collectible show, this might be some of the interesting collectibles to go through, because it is the game stuff. There wasn't just games, there was some other stuff, but these are pretty nice, and they've got amazing graphics from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Like, battling tops. Yeah, the spinning things. Donald Duck Fun Box. I mean, these days that would have a completely different connotation. Hanky Panky, that too would also have a different connotation these days. But yeah, that's pretty groovy, dude. And you would have to assume they're all complete. Do you know, were they used?
They were used gently, but they were in amazing condition for what they are. There was not the Green Ghost game there, but the Creepy Critters, which Russell's also asking about, is the mintest one I have ever seen. It is like brand new. The box is sharp and nice. The cardboard hasn't browned at all, and all the pieces are there. It is just unbelievable.
Now, you've got the Mousetrap, or you had the Mousetrap game in your store. So is this like the first generation of it?
Yeah, this is a much older version than I have ever seen before. Now, the Mousetrap box is big. This is about a quarter bigger than the biggest one I've ever seen before. And the thing the guy who collected did, which I've been really naughty and I'm not doing there, he stacked them all on their sides. So if you stack games like that, eventually they all crush down and all the boxes break. But he stacked them on their side, so all the boxes were in amazing condition as well, which is unbelievable for stuff from this era.
It's very, very cool. Well done, dude.
So here's some of the pictures, the fronts of the games. We're talking about battling tops. The one there I'd never seen before, Pull Out the Hat, which looks like it has all these, Pull Out the Mat. Looks like it has all these mousetrap pieces, but instead of building a mousetrap, you've got to do that, pull the tablecloth out from under flowers. You build them up on this mat, and you've got to whip the mat out as fast as you can without tipping them all over. And I've never seen that game before. There's Jigsaws, the first Ideal generation, but probably not the first Mousetrap. Michael's absolutely right. Probably some of the stuff here he would know more about than me. Michael is another toy collector and friend who I've known for years and years, and he would appreciate the condition of some of this stuff.
I find this one, I don't know what this is over here. I don't know if it's a jigsaw puzzle or a game. Captain Cook with some natives, indigenous people somewhere. I reckon that'd upset a few people these days. What do you think?
It is a jigsaw puzzle, and I think it was the nations of Tahiti. And Michael actually picked that up when he came, because he collects jigsaws. It was one, you're right, you can't really show on display now. The one that I haven't pictured, I got some copper art from Copper Art, and I don't know for anyone who remembers Copper Art. It was, I guess, a cheap homewares place that had sort of kitsch and really weird art. And they had a series of First Nation Aboriginal pictures, which you could never show now. They were all drawn in that sort of very cartoonish, almost not black-faced racist,
yep,
but pretty bad.
On TV. Sorry, the commercials were done by Pete Smith. That's the reason why I think a lot of people remember them. So, yeah.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Copper Art.
Yep.
Here's some old games from Murphet. And again, absolutely impossible to find any information on these. The boxes on these were so delicate, I think all of them would have been destroyed pretty quick. And there's an Aeroplane Ludo, which I could find information on. There's a Lassiter's Lost Gold Mine one that I could find info on. But the best one was this Creepy Castle, and I couldn't even find any information on that. There are all these amazing graphics from the 60s, and it is just this unique stuff that I've never seen before. And even when you do find this stuff, it is never in this amazing condition. So I think if you give me the screen, you can kind of see a bit better here, the type of stuff we're talking about. I mean, for an old game that's in a really paper-thin cardboard, we're talking the cheapest of cheap cardboard, to be in this condition from Murphet, and there's the other two. So we've got the whole set here. It's just amazing to be able to pick stuff like that up and it turn up. Now, I don't know if these are super collectible because they're not franchise stuff, but it's the Creepy Castle. Someone has got to love that, haven't they?
Okay, so Christy actually had Crispy Castle. Now, there's a message here from we've got through. I don't think DJ watched last week's episode, so I'm going to keep this relatively short, the answer, right?
Yeah.
So it's fascinating and tinged with a bit of sadness around some of the potential circumstances. Did you learn about the hoarder? Does this story have a depressing ending? Well, it's depressing because the guy had passed away. But anything about the hoarder? Keep it short because we covered this off last week.
So he was financially well off, and he managed to collect everything in his life and record everything for about 50 years. His house got to a state where you basically couldn't get into it. And I think the thing that is really disappointing, the estate trustees came in, this is while he was still alive, and disposed of 26 or 27 tons of material just so they could get in the house. And it was obviously probably a fire hazard and quite, you just couldn't get in there. But yeah, he was archivist and a recorder his whole life. So it's the most amazing collection I've seen. Don't really know much more than that about him.
Cool, Ruzi. Yeah, I noticed in the back of the game is manufactured in Moorabbin, so that would keep it very, very local. So yeah, very cool stuff. Okay, a bit of something a bit more common.
So you say it's common, but also this is the kind of stuff I love to see. He collected Lego, and I've been pulling out boxes of brand new Lego from all different eras. Probably we've done stuff on Lego, so I'm not going to show absolutely everything, but some of the coolest stuff is the Indiana Jones stuff, which I kind of think is recent, but it's more than 10 years old now. It came out when Crystal Skulls came out. But the fantastic stuff is some of that Lego Knights stuff, and you've got the Black Knight's castle there, and that is like it came out of the shop yesterday, and that's an 80s set. And usually, again, with Lego, it gets built and opened. This one is brand new. All the pieces are still sealed. It's like it came out of the factory. So just an amazing collection, and you never see Lego from this era like that. So that's one of my favorite finds.
Cool.
And here I had to highlight the Creepy Critters because it is a old Toll Toys one, and a lot of people collect the Australian boxes and the Australian versions of these games. And you can see, because it's a game where you build the creepy critters and they've got arms and legs and bodies and all of that, they never turn up complete. They're all missing. This was 100% complete. The box is crisp with no marks and no damage. The inside is absolutely mint with the instructions, and it's nice and white, and it's like it just came home from the shop yesterday. So it is one of those amazing things. Not the most expensive game, but just amazing to see in such great condition. And out of the collection, I will keep a couple of things for me, and this is one of those things I think I'm going to find pretty hard to let go.
So just to clarify something here from DJ, he said, okay, it's not terrible, it's a bit sad, but not super heartbreaking. It could have been. So I know you didn't watch last week's episode, DJ. So what happened, quite simply, is Aron got 2-3 days to get into the house and get this stuff out before the estate agent people moved in and chucked out everything. And of course, there's a long story, but a lot of stuff got thrown out before Aron arrived. So it would have been heartbreaking if everything that you're looking at right now, including what you just said, would have been thrown out probably. Okay, straight to the what do you call it? The hard rubbish down to the tip. Hang on. So the heartbreaking thing is what could have been. It's not heartbreaking now because a lot of stuff is being saved. So that's just putting things into perspective. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. There was more thrown out than I was able to save, sadly.
Yeah, exactly right. So yeah, that's what's brought this episode and last episode together. The fact that Aron got in, found all the stuff. I mean, last episode of this show, there's a lot more that was discussed regarding all the videotapes and everything. So that's why Aron's been contacting all these museums and archiving places all around the world because of everything that's being found. So we're just highlighting, or he's highlighting some of the things that were found that could have been destroyed, including that game that even you, or that Lego set that even you thought was worth thousands, could have all been destroyed. All right, moving on.
And then it comes right forward. Like I said, he collected from all eras. So I'm opening boxes and there's Halo Mega Blocks in there, which is another one of those things that Halo is become more and more collectible. I guess people grew up with the gaming stuff. It's cross generations. We've just had the TV series. Mega Blocks were always traditionally Lego's poor cousin, and no one really collected them. So this is why I kind of think it's interesting, because if not a lot of people collect them down the track, they're harder to get than Lego when people do decide they're after them, because no one has got them in collections. And this guy just had about every Halo set that was ever released. So you can see there it's the big tanks and the big drop ships and the alien ships and things like that. And we do get Halo stuff from time to time. This stuff is never boxed and never complete. And this is all mint, unopened in original boxes, just taken home and packed away.
No, very, very cool. So just for a complete list, DJ, if you're interested, last week's episode, you don't have to watch all 2 hours of it, just the last, say, 30 minutes. I'd say 30, 40 minutes will give you the entire backstory as to what's going on regarding this this hoarding discussion. Okay, so that's when we first discuss what was found and how it was found and the saga that went with it. Very cool.
And the other thing, this guy collected a lot of militaria, so I've been opening boxes and boxes and boxes of not just G.I. Joe, but all these different 12-inch figures like Action Man, and there's been all these ops and Special Rescue and Rescue Force, and ones that are cheap knockoffs of G.I. Joe, and then ones that are much more expensive, super articulated stuff. The thing I did find interesting, a lot of these were opened as well and played with, and I don't know what he was doing, if he was customizing or something, but a lot of them had the arms and legs chopped off. So for someone who collected absolutely everything and kept it mint, it was strange to find some of these collectibles were opened and damaged and pulled apart and had their arms and legs chopped off. So I don't know what was going on there. But,
so the next door neighbours, for the years, all they would have been hearing is just some dude next door, some crazy hoarding guy, to go, medic, medic.
yeah.
Michael's made a point of saying many lost episodes of Docky Who on tape, possibly chucked as well. Possibly. I mean, you have to watch last week's episode regarding the whole video. So we're not going to go through it again, but there's thousands of beta videos from the 70s, but we don't know what's on them. So that's why they're all going to be sent off to the archives, National Archives. Someone else gets the job of going through them all. Who knows what's on them? So, okay. Yeah. But having said that, regarding videos and all the rest of it, this has come up.
Now, this is the stuff that's going up to the archives, and my big priority was to get this stuff saved because it is the biggest collection of domestic recordings I have ever seen, and the stuff on it is of historical importance. And there is stuff there, I would say most of it isn't labelled, but the stuff that is labelled, it comes right from that era where there could be missing material. And I had, everyone knows I'm a big Doctor Who fan, and there are nearly 100 missing episodes of Doctor Who. They were shown in the Australia, some of the missing ones up until the early 70s. So there is an overlap and a possibility that this guy recorded them, especially as he was a Doctor Who fan and a science fiction fan and did record Doctor Who, because I found other tapes with it on, just nothing that old. And the one I have dropped and I have put, I was hoping for Andra as well. Russell's just said, I just hope he finds Andra. I did find this and I put it up on the Star Trek page, but this is probably the oldest domestic recording, as in recorded at home by someone, of a Star Trek episode. So this is pre-beta, pre-VHS, probably around the same time as pneumatic tapes, which are what TV stations used. It's a 1/4-inch magnetic videotape, and he had the machines to play them. And it's got the Star Trek episode Errand of Mercy. Now, every episode of Star Trek exists. This is a particularly good one with the Klingons and Kirk, and is it John Calico, who was also Boltar, is one of the Klingons in it. So it's got a bit of pedigree to it. If that had been a Doctor Who episode that was broadcast around the same time, it had been a missing one, this would be on front page of the newspapers worldwide, this collection. And it still could happen because there are thousands of tapes that are not checked. And what Dags was saying about Doctor Who, I did find a complete box of off-air recorded Doctor Who. Unfortunately, these are from 93. So everything there would exist. Maybe some of the continuities might be of interest to someone. Continuities are the announcers on the end of the episode saying what's coming next and things like that. But to me, if he was recording in the 70s and he was a Doctor Who fan and he was recording Doctor Who right up until the 90s, there is a chance with the material that we've got that there could be something really interesting on it. And it'll just be up to the University of Canberra that is going to get its students going through absolutely everything for the next couple of years to hopefully find it.
That's what Chrissy said here. Some poor archivist was sod. I like the noise supervisor would be punished by going through these tapes. Yeah, exactly right. That's a lot.
So I don't know if you've ever seen these. These are the kind of tapes that are interesting because they're pre-beta and VHS. So these are whoppers. These are pneumatic tapes. So these would have been the type of tapes that television station used. Generally, the machines were not domestic home machines because they basically cost so much. It was like to buy a machine to play this was probably the same as buying a car at the time. This is unfortunate because when we cleared out the estate, the guy said we didn't think anyone could play those tapes, and we threw out most of them, and probably threw out hundreds or thousands, because there is numbering on some of them. They go up to about 350, and I've only found a couple of dozen.
Very good. I don't know whether we've frozen my poor old Aron. Okay, good stuff. All right, I think we're nearly. Yeah.
So I don't know what happened there. You guys disappeared, or I might have
Keep going.
disappeared. Am I back?
Yep.
Okay, so this is just showing some of the stuff that's going up to the archives. You can see not only there pneumatic tapes, there were 4 pneumatic tape players. There was various formats that some I could identify and some I did not even know what they were. He pretty much had machines to play all of the collection that he had. Under his house was like a time machine that just went back with different formats. The further you went back into it, the further back into the 80s and 70s it went with. There was about 30 or 40 machines for playing these things. So as you can see, we have curated everything we could out of the house that would be interesting. We've got it all together, and it's going up to Canberra to be checked. The guy that came out from the National Sound and Film Association said it was the biggest domestic collection that has ever turned up. So there will 100% be missing material there, even if it's only adverts and stuff like that that don't exist at the moment. So it is historically important, and we have got it into the right hands.
Very good. And just to finish it off, this dude collected everything. Someone else is using your Wi-Fi in the house, dude.
Because I have the. Sorry, am I dropping out? I don't know what's happening. Sorry. So he had drink bottles of drink, and he collected them. These are 20 years out of date. I don't know if you can see. There's even floaty bits in there because it's so old. But it's one of those things that I'm so tempted to crack it open and see what it tastes like after 20 years.
Why have you got that at your house, dude? Seriously.
Because I thought it would be very cool to crack it open, put it in a soda stream, record it, and put it up on YouTube and say, like, trying, the old flavors that don't exist anymore. And you can see they're so old, they've sucked themselves in.
So if anybody's going to Aron's Collectibles to buy a soft drink and they look a tad dodgy, you'll know where they came from. So there you go.
So, yes, that could be a crazy thing that happens in the future, cracking open and drinking drinks that are 20 years out of date.
So DJ's going drink it. Yeah, on the Viso DJ, you've got to pay for his hospital bills when he ends up being crook. So there you go. And I agree with Rusky, babes. You'd end up like the Hulk if you end up drinking that. So I can't believe you brought those home. But yes.
We know the grave digger if I need one.
Blankety Blank's lemonade. Yes, yeah. Cyril used to produce that. So yeah, exactly right. 000 on standby. Very, very cool. So that's the last of the picture. So anything? What do you had? You want to? No, you got everything there.
There's a bottle of flat Cyril.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. That stuff would put hair on you.
I don't think so. But I think I hope everyone's enjoyed looking at the estate the last couple of weeks, because it is, I guarantee you, the only time I'll ever see one like this. This will never happen again. And I hope if anyone finds stuff like this, they can now have an idea of where it should go and where it should wind up so it doesn't get thrown out or destroyed. What have you thought about this whole situation, Dags? Because I know you've kind of watched from the sidelines and kind of shook your head about stuff that's coming out. Do you think it was worthwhile him collecting this, or do you think he was a massive hoarder and it was a bit of a problem?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I can understand the thing of like buying the toys and the games and all that, and you keeping all that. I get all that, and the videotapes, I get all that too. The flyers, though, has kind of thrown me a little bit. I mean, if you were involved with the events, sure, you keep the flyers for historical purposes, but if there's something you went to or didn't go to, and hanging on to those doesn't make a great deal of sense. And you can almost bet your bottom dollar, once they'll filed away, put into whatever they'll put into, they were just forgotten, right? If they had to disappear in the middle of the night, the guy wouldn't have even known about it. So it's just funny how someone who hoarded all this stuff for all these decades after they've died, suddenly it all comes to light, and this dude is going to probably have his name up on lights somewhere saying, "Oh, thanks to this person," and then you as well because you found it all. He's going to get acknowledged for having this great bit of history that had long since been forgotten or ignored. Yet he himself probably didn't even realize he even had it. And of course, until you came along and saved it all. So it's a bizarre scenario where it's not like the guy was still alive and said, "I've got all the stuff. Do you want it? Look how good am I?" He had to die before it actually saw the light of day. So it's very unusual.
The crazy thing is as well that I was the one that got to see it. A lot of estate people who handle estates, estate trustees, what really wanted to hard waste it. They saw no value in it at all. And I do understand because I look at that and there isn't really any monetary value. Just to give you a hypothetical, if the museum put on a display and they said, "This is every advert for a fan convention in Australia ever," would you go and see it? Or would that be, no, I'm not interested?
Yeah, I mean, probably. What's interesting is if the stuff had have been destroyed, nobody would have known any different. Right?
No.
It's just like everybody's completely oblivious as to what's happened. But now all of a sudden, there's a chance that a lot of this stuff is all going to get saved.
Do you know
and
what
that's a good thing.
It's Schrodinger's collection. If it hadn't been found, no one would ever care. But because it's found, it's kind of got a life of its own now.
Yeah, it has actually. I like this from Rusky Babes. Did you find a sled named Rosebud? That's a comment from Citizen Kane, which is, if you actually know where the name Rosebud came from. If you know the answer, don't mention it because it's a little bit rude. But if you do know, good for you. Yes. This is not Rosebud the suburb, by the way. Rosebud the sled from Citizen Kane. I haven't read this. Has it been worth your while obtaining this hoarder's collection? He's not obtaining it, he's kind of saving it, so just be aware of that. Did you find enough stock for the store? It was worth it. A similar thing happened to a collectible store in the US, ended up $500,000. So in other words, has it been worth your time? I think you'll find, I'll get Aaron to answer it, but I think you'll find half of it is not just looking at stuff to resell, it's just saving history. So there's two facets of that, but you can answer that if you want.
Yeah, so it has been worthwhile because there is enough stuff there that the store's going to sell a lot of it and do well out of it. A lot of the stuff that is collectible is not amazingly expensive, though. What they are saved from the estate because they thought it was the valuable stuff was stuff like Eagle Moss figures and things like that, which are collectible but not valuable. And what was thrown out was probably the really interesting and valuable stuff. I didn't show pictures of it. There is some tapes from the 70s that have the Doors, Led Zeppelin, Woodstock, and that kind of thing on, recorded off the ABC. If that is stuff that isn't known to exist and is unique stuff, that's priceless instantly. It's the best find that's happened in this collection. From a shop point of view, I've bombed out the shop. Like, there are, I think, 50 more crates of stuff in the shop than can actually fit, to the point where it's gone to different people's houses to try and keep it chucked and thrown. So there's pros and cons. What's actually worked against this collection is the size of it. Even the National Archives said if it was a quarter of the size, you'd be able to handle it. But because it's so big, you kind of look at it and go, where do I even start? And this is with everything. With the comics, we've got so many of them. I'm like, where do you even start? With the magazines, with the toys. It is like redo the whole shop to try and fit this in, and a lot of work for a lot of lower price items.
Couple of things before we finish. Chrissy said it's the equivalent of finding the Dead Sea Scrolls, only for entertainment. It's a good point. Dicko, who's got a lot of the stuff actually stored with him at the moment, puts Aaron's collectibles on the maps and gets more people to come into the store. Absolutely. I'll be there on Saturday if it helps at all. So very, very cool. And if worst comes to worst, as Rusky Wab says, just go down the tip and and start digging and find the rest. So good stuff. All right, we're going to finish up now. So it's been a couple of weeks discussing this whole thing. The story will continue on. I don't know if it'll be on for next week's episode or whatever else, but I mean, there will be updates as we go along, and who knows what Aaron will unearth the next time he happens to be visiting this place. So interesting story, and you heard it here first, fans. So very, very cool. Any final words before we sign off for the night, Mr. Aron?
I think this will probably be the last we do of this estate on the show, unless something amazing turns up and it'll be a news thing. But hopefully down the track we might get an update, and there might be some historical material that's found. So thanks everyone for bearing with us. Because I've been doing this, I haven't had as much time to do other stuff on the show, so I've incorporated this into the show, and I hope everyone's enjoyed these episodes as well. So thanks for bearing with us on this.
Very, very good. And as like all hoarders should do, make sure you keep all your collectibles and your hoardings mint in box.
Yeah, and not in the rain-soaked room to dump in my face when you rip it off the card.
Very, very cool. Don't forget the Docky Who show tomorrow night. Okay, be sure to check it out. All right, see you guys. Have a good one. Take care.
Have a good night, guys. Good night.